Whoa, 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 whoa. It looked like for a minute Tom Brady was getting ready to have a victory drink. Tom, you've had way too many victories throughout the years, so I think I'll take that one from you. And not only that, how about that boy Derrick Henry, huh? He's pretty special, ain't he? Tastes like the second round. You know, reality of it is, folks, you could be Tom Brady today, but I think in all honesty, it would be a little bit worse to be Drew Brees. Maybe even worse than that, Carson Wentz. Drew Brees and Tom Brady both played in the first round, and we will now head to the second round without both of them. Tom Brady and Drew Brees have both been eliminated Wild Card Weekend. There were so many fantastic games this weekend. We're going to talk about each and every one of them because that's what we do. This is your NFL Wild Card Weekend review. Back to the YouTube channel. We're going to be reviewing NFL Wild Card Weekend, the crazy weekend in football that it was. But before we do that, I highly urge everybody to subscribe to the channel. Why subscribe? Because a lot of you have jobs, a lot of you are busy, some of you have kids, some of you have 2 jobs, some of you go to school. And by subscribing, it gives you the chance to watch the videos that I upload at a later date or time. So the second I upload it, you don't have to be on it like flies on crap, but it gives you the chance to come on here and to watch those videos at a later time, catch up on some of my previews, go back and look at my predictions, see where I went wrong, where I went right. And not only that, to go back and watch the intros, because that has been, without question, the people's favorite part of the video has been the intros up to this point. We're going to talk about this crazy wild card weekend. We had 2 overtime games and 1 upset and a quarterback injury that altered the game for the Eagles, which some will say. We're going to go over all 4 of these games in chronological order because this was a crazy weekend and somehow, some way, my Titans stay alive. Bills-Texans was kicking off your wild card weekend this weekend, Saturday at 4:35. This was played in Houston because Houston won the AFC South and they were hosting the Buffalo Bills. In the first half, it looked like Houston didn't even have a crowd and they had nothing going for them. Josh Allen looked like a veteran in the first half of this game. He had great run plays, and they scored, I believe, on their first drive. Allen, when it was all said and done, was 24 for 46 with passing for 264 yards, but his run was impressive. He had 92 yards rushing on the ground. This was a good game for Deshaun Watson, despite a couple of pass rush hits from the Buffalo Bills line. He did finish 20 for 25 with 247 yards and a touchdown. Now, DeAndre Hopkins, for the most part, early in this game was silent. All of a sudden, DeAndre Hopkins gets his first catch and it turns right into a fumble. So everything that's going wrong for the Houston Texans at this point continues to accumulate, and the Buffalo Bills look like they are completely in the driver's seat. They were up 16-0. I believe that may have been the halftime score in this game, but they were up 16-0. And second half tide turns. We started to see the Texans making plays. J.J. Watt was playing in this game. He did get a sack. You knew he was going to get 1 at least before it was done. But when it was all said and done, DeAndre Hopkins did have 90 yards on 6 receptions. Now, this game ended up going into overtime because the Texans had come back and made some plays. There was a couple of plays in this game where the Texans could have made game-altering defensive plays. But it did not happen. 1 through Bradley Roby, right off his chest, which could have been an interception, and 1 through J.J. Watt's hands, which could have also been an interception. The final play of this game saw Deshaun Watson avoiding a sack like a ninja wizard, throwing the ball for a great pass, and then it set up a field goal. And the Texans won this game 22-19 in overtime and punched their ticket to AFC Divisional Weekend. They will now have the tall task of going into Kansas City to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, we have another week of football coming up, but in a separate video, I'm going to enlighten the people with my preview and predictions as well. This was a very good game. The Bills were dominating early. It didn't look like the Texans really had an answer for anything. And then all of a sudden, what you see a general trend of is a lot of these teams in the second half change the tides, if you'll say. And that's exactly what the Houston Texans did. They changed the tides, and they were able to get this win when it was all said and done. Lots of credit to Deshaun Watson stepping up in a big situation. Josh Allen did not look too great in the second half. He was making some decisions towards the end of the game that we just didn't really quite understand, doing some of the things that he did. Houston punches their ticket to take on Kansas City next week, and I believe that's the first game on Sunday. Titans-Patriots. You know, going into this game, I thought that we were favored to win. because we had the better team. But we knew how hard of a place Foxborough was to play. And all I can say is thank God for Derrick Henry, because the Titans' passing game was non-existent, and I kind of expected it to be like that. But what I didn't expect is for it to be as quiet as it was. I expected that, this to be a run-heavy game for the Titans, like a lot of our games have been. Not so much this year, but just in general. But Ryan Tannehill was not getting anything going. He wasn't necessarily getting sacked that much, but the receivers weren't open. A.J. Brown finished this game with 1 reception on 4 yards, so clearly Stephon Gilmore shut him down. But Derrick Henry is the name that you're going to be talking about today, and maybe hopefully next week as well. Derrick Henry had 182 yards and a touchdown in this game. Like I said, there was no pass game for the Titans. Tannehill was 8 for 15 with 72 yards and a touchdown. It was a dumb late interception that I didn't really like when Tannehill just threw it up in the air, and I believe Harmon caught it Harmon caught it for the New England Patriots. Like I said, A.J. Brown was completely silent in this game. Something that was killing the Patriots early, or killing the Titans early, I should say, was the runs. You know how the Patriots like to do those little screen passes? James White and Sony Michel were running all over the Titans. And every time they were doing so, they were getting 10, 15 yards at change. So they weren't getting 2-3 yards. They were getting a 10-yarder, a 15-yarder, a 6-yarder, a 7-yarder. It was killing us. And that was really what made me nervous, because I knew the Patriots were, especially with our defense, there wasn't going to be a pass-heavy game either for them. But it seems like they were able to utilize those screen passes and definitely get that late early. The Patriots did score off of an Edelman jet sweep at some point in this game. I forgot when it was. Now, we're going to the late second half. The Titans have a 14-13 lead. And there was a lot of 3-and-outs, and that made me nervous. That made me nervous because when you're going back and forth in a playoff game with New England late, the chances of you winning that game they go down drastically as the game goes on. So if the Titans are up by 1, Patriots 3-and-out, Titans 3-and-out, Patriots 3-and-out, Titans 3-and-out. The chances of you winning that game in New England against Tom Brady drastically take a tumble because of how good the Patriots are in those situations. Again, we've seen how that was, so that just made me nervous. I was like, can someone please score? Oh, that score held, believe it or not, all the way to the end of the game. And there was a final stand for the Patriots. Tom Brady made a play, bounced off of his receiver into Logan Ryan's hands, ran it right in for a pick six, and it made it 20-13. And the Titans would never look back. So the Titans were able to get this win. I think it's great for us. I'm happy we did it. We live to survive another week. But the tall task now becomes, are we able to slay the Dragon? And by the Dragon, I mean the toughest team in football all year long in their home, and that is the Baltimore Ravens. I'm very nervous about this game, but somebody put it to me best. If Lamar Jackson's not on the field, he can't score. So I'm expecting another run-heavy game for the Titans, but I'm also expecting the passing game to be opened up just a little bit for the Titans. This was a great win, 20-13. The Titans beat the Patriots in New England, and we will not have to worry about a Tom Brady celebration this year as they are booted in the first round. And now there will be a lot of questions in the offseason that are going to have to be answered about Tom Brady. Is he going somewhere else? Is he going to retire? Is he going to come back on New England? There's a lot of questions, and it's for sure going to be an interesting offseason, regardless of what Tom Brady says he wants to do. I don't think he's going to retire. I do think he's going to stay put in New England. But again, I'm not quite sure. He could go somewhere else, but again, it wouldn't really make much sense to me. Titans win 20-13. The Vikings were going to New Orleans to take on the Saints, and if you want me to be honest with you, prior to the game, all of us said that the Minnesota Vikings have no chance in this game, and that was not the case. The Minnesota Vikings were actually largely in control of this. Drew Brees did not look like himself. The Minnesota Vikings were pretty much just all over the place. They were playing great defense. Michael Thomas did finish with 7 receptions and 70 yards. But that, where we were expecting, I wouldn't say that was a bad game, but I would say for Michael Thomas standards, we were expecting probably 100 yards plus. Again, it's the playoffs, you kind of expect that. No one gave them a chance, but Brees was struggling early for the Saints, like I mentioned. The Vikings kept shutting down Brees and the Saints. Michael Thomas not as dominant as we're used to seeing. The Vikings defense was laying down the law on the Saints. And Dalvin Cook was the primary playmaker for the Minnesota Vikings. He's been running the ball. All year he's been running the ball great for the Minnesota Vikings. Again, he kind of tailed off a little bit towards the end of the season. He had that injury as well that he was working with. But he did. Dalvin Cook finished with 94 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Minnesota Vikings. And Kirk Cousins is also someone that we have to mention in this game. You know, we don't typically acknowledge Kirk Cousins because we thought that he wasn't going to step up, because the trend has shown us that Kirk Cousins is not this elite quarterback that can step up in primetime situations. But we've seen that this is maybe Kirk Cousins' first playoff win. If I'm correct, I'm not sure about that. No, I don't know. I don't know. It might be his first playoff win. Yeah, I think it's his first playoff win. But he finished 19 for 31 with 242 yards and a touchdown. A late Saints kick pushed this game into overtime. So just as the Vikings were in vast control of this game, the Saints were able to come back a little bit and tie this game up and send it into overtime. The Minnesota Vikings won the toss. That would give them the ball in the game, and they never looked back. They were driving, and the game changer, the game-altering play for me was the pass from Kirk Cousins to Adam Thielen, which put him at the 4-yard line, maybe the 1-yard line, and the crowd just went dead silent in this game, and it set up the Vikings 1st and goal. And what happened was the Saints had a good goal line stand, but it wasn't enough. What happened was Cook ran it up twice. They knocked them both, so it was 3rd and goal. And then Kirk Cousins connected with Kyle Rudolph in the corner on a throw that Kyle Rudolph would catch in bounds. Touchdown, and the Vikings stun the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans, and they will punch their ticket to a very difficult game to play, and that is the San Francisco 49ers next week, Saturday. I believe that is the first game that is on television. So, there was a play at the end where they said that the Saints could have been potentially robbed again of pass interference. I didn't see it. Everybody else was claiming that they saw it. I saw the push-off, but there was also contact on both sides. So the way that I look at it is, that there was contact on both sides. I didn't see it wasn't as blatantly obvious, but again, this was just a rough game for Drew Brees. He was getting sacked a lot by Minnesota. He had a fumble in this game, and he doesn't typically fumble. And the Minnesota Vikings shocked them. So again, a lot of us aren't going to give a chance in this game against San Francisco next week. But if you look at it, we never gave them a chance to beat New Orleans. And here we are. Game of the week. And that was the NFC East winner. Regardless of what you say and how good they played in last recent weeks, the NFC East winner did not deserve to be home in the playoffs. And nobody in the NFC East showed that they were a playoff-worthy team. I'm sorry. Because it looked like towards the last couple of weeks that both of these teams were competing to lose the division, and that's not what we saw. It was Seattle going to Philly to take on the Eagles. This was a stalemate early, and it changed. The tides changed very, very early. Late in the first quarter, Carson Wentz went down. And as you know, Carson Wentz had a good season this year. He played fully healthy. And all of a sudden, Carson Wentz goes down, and now the Eagles are put in this position. Well, let's take them back to the tent. Let's see what's going on. And we're going to put Josh McCown in. Now, Josh McCown, as you know, has been an NFL veteran for so many years, and he's played so many different games. And I don't think Josh McCown did terrible, considering the circumstances he was put in. Let's go over Josh McCown's stats real quick. He was 18 for 24 with 174 yards. But they needed Carson Wentz to really win this game, and I don't think that just because they didn't have Carson Wentz, they didn't win. The receivers are not good, and the receivers are hurt. Stalemate. Wentz goes down early first half. The Eagles were getting a roughing the passer penalty towards the end of the first half. That really killed them because it gave Seattle 1st and goal again. Seattle ran it right in. It was a touchdown. I believe it was 10-3 Seattle at half. To end the half, Miles Sanders also looked like he was appearing to be hurt for the Philadelphia Eagles. Started the second half. Carson Wentz was completely ruled out. So at this point, Josh McCown knows that he's in, and this is his time to shine. This was Josh McCown's first playoff start, actually, and he was very emotional and excited about that. When it was all said and done, Russell Wilson was 18 for 30 with 325 yards and the touchdown. And the Philadelphia Eagle killer was DJ Metcalf. And that was why, because he had 7 receptions and 160 yards and a touchdown. When it was all said and done, this was very low scoring. The Eagles defense did play well in this game, but it did not play great. Their secondary is a huge problem that they're going to have to address in the offseason for the Philadelphia Eagles. 17-9 was your final. Seattle takes the win, and they will now take their bags and go to Green Bay for this iconic playoff rivalry between the Green Bay Packers, which we've seen over the years, which is just unbelievable. Marshawn Lynch was a non-factor in this game. He had a couple of plays where he was hard for him to get down, but he had 6 carries for 7 yards. So the Marshawn Lynch factor was already thrown out the window. Good luck next week. We'll see what he can do against Green Bay. Seahawks win, Seahawks advance, upsets, everything, all of that in between. Ladies and gentlemen, this was your NFL Wildcard Weekend review. We're going to be doing the divisional round preview and predictions coming up soon. Thank you for watching.